Hi, I'm Dave Wurzel, and you're watching PHTV4 Bookshelf, and today is a special edition of Bookshelf. It is a youth and teen edition, especially though, best books of 2023. With me, co-host is Tina Rosala, the head of youth and teen services at Palos Heights Library, and I want to thank you in advance because I know I gave you a next to impossible task. Best of 2023, you had 3 categories to work in, and then narrowed down to 3 in that, and I'm sure there's a bunch of books out there we're leaving out.
Yes.
But thank you for working on this. And again, best of 2023, so if you miss these books, maybe you want to go check them out. If you're looking for a holiday gift, maybe there's something here, or a birthday or a special event coming up. A lot of good titles here. Some I'm familiar with, some I'm not. The premise and great variety, a lot of great things here.
Yes.
So we're going to take a look at picture books first. These are for smaller children. Age group again?
So usually some of them, depending on the content and the text, from babies all the way up until some 3rd grade.
Okay. All right. So picture books is our first category. And the first title you've got for us?
Yes. So the picture books, actually, that category in itself was the hardest for me because there are so many great picture books out there right now. So the first one that I picked is Big, and it is by Vashti Harrison. This book is ultimately a book about self-love. And it starts off with this African-American girl, and she is a baby, and she is full of big laughs, big hearts, big dreams. So the theme throughout this book is big, and she finishes her vegetables. Oh, aren't you a great big girl? And with this girl, like, she gets older, and when you get older, you get bigger, and you get bigger, and this girl, she is struggling with the word big that used to be so positive when she was younger, and now it has taken a negative turn because she is not like the thinnest ballerina in her class. And with going on swings, her teacher tells her, oh, aren't you too big for that? So big has taken on a negative turn, and you can see in this picture book how it affects her just through the illustrations. It's so great. And this girl ends up becoming very sad, and she cries in a puddle of water, and you see these negative words that have impacted her. And she's crying these words, and then ultimately she looks around and she's just like, wait, I don't need to feel like this. Like, I'm gonna let these people know that they hurt my feelings with the words that they told me. Mm-hmm. And it is just a great book. It's about self-love and kind of just taking up your space, and you don't need to be the thinnest ballerina in your class. Mm-hmm. So
it sounds like a great title, and I think about kids who kind of go through that transition. When you're real little, probably a lot of these things you miss, but as you get older and become more aware, or you go through a transition where, you know, can you sit on Santa's lap now? Well, maybe not. You know,
right.
Is that what big kids do or not?
Exactly.
Or you're a big kid and other kids are not. You know, mm-hmm. Let alone the. Yeah, it sounds like a great title, and I'm sure could be very helpful to some parents and their families and their children out there too.
Yes.
All right, so that's Big by Vashti Harrison. Next book, and again, this sounds like another great book that is going to help somebody if they want to take a look at it. Next picture book we're going to take a look at is Too Much, An Overwhelming Day by Jolene Gutierrez. I also like that there's a rhyming picture book, so it has a nice sound quality to it. And it's about sensory overload and what you can do when everything is too much. And sometimes everything is too much, right? This is a description of the book. Too loud, too bright, and all too overwhelming. Writing from her own experience with sensory processing disorder, award-winning teacher librarian Jolene Gutierrez's compassionate picture book explores the struggles of a sensorily sensitive child and how they settle themselves. And again, I think we take some of that for granted, but you know, like when you go to an event and there's all kinds of noise or lights or, you know, and maybe it looks nice or even sounds nice, but maybe for some people it's not. And how do you manage that environment?
Yes, and again, with picture books, like the illustrations and the color, the author does a great job, and the illustrator do a great job of creating a loud environment without using a lot of words. And they can convey the stress that this child is going through.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a great book. Obviously very helpful for people who are navigating this, and actually people who aren't, so that we become aware
Yes.
Right? All right, we have one more book, and I know it's a shame, but we're going to go one more book in the picture book category. Tina, what do you have for us?
Yes, and if you're just looking for a great picture book to give as a gift, Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Sleigh. It's by Mo Willems, and author of the Elephant and Piggy books, author of the Pigeon, Don't Let
There's
the
a whole
Pigeon Drive the Bus.
pigeon series books,
yes.
right?
So now Santa Claus has left the reader in charge of watching his sleigh. But be careful, because the pigeon is going to do everything he can to convince the reader that you should let him go inside Santa's sleigh. So it's just hilarious, laugh out loud, definitely gets you into the holiday spirit, and you get to see what kooky things this pigeon does next.
All right, it sounds fun. So, Don't Let the Pigeon Slay the Slave. Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Sleigh.
Yes.
Okay. So those are 3 picture books. A bunch of others out there, great books, but certainly these are 3 maybe to put top of your list.
Yes.
Okay. All right, now we're going to move to chapter books. Chapter books are for who, and how are they different?
So chapter books can be very thin, and so they can start for as young as 2nd grade, and then they tend to go up all the way until 8th grade.
Okay, through junior high. Now, Carl Hiaasen, the first book we're going to talk about, he writes regular adult fiction too, right? Isn't this the same author?
Oh, I don't know. Don't ask me adult questions.
Sorry. No, and I think it is, because I've read this author before, and I'm assuming this is his young adult world, but maybe they're not the same. All right. Anyway, the first book in our chapter book category is Wrecker by Carl Hiaasen, and Wrecker, actually the name of the character in the book, right?
Yes.
Wrecker needs to deal, I love it, and I'm thinking about chapter books. This is the kind of book I would have loved as a kid, I think. Wrecker needs to deal with smugglers, grave robbers, and pooping iguanas. All right, I'm hooked. That was all I needed. Just as soon as he finishes Zoom school. Welcome to another wild adventure in Carl Hiaasen's Florida. Is it destiny, irony, or just bad luck when Wrecker comes across a speedboat that has run hard aground on a sand flat? The men in the boat don't want Wrecker to call for help. In fact, they'll pay him to forget he ever saw them. And that's going to lead him into having to take a deep dive into the shady dealings to figure out a way to escape this entangled net. I love it. It sounds like a great adventure story. If this is the author I'm thinking of, typically these books are kind of funny too. The characters are usually very interesting, kind of quirky, you know.
Yes, he is funny, and this is a mystery, and it's also full of adventure. So yes, if you're looking for a boy who is might be a struggling reader, or might say, no, I don't want to read that, nothing is appealing to him, I would definitely recommend this book.
Super high interest. Sounds like probably a fast read. All right, so that's our first book, not in any particular order in the chapter book category. Next chapter book, Tina?
So next chapter book is Don't Trust the Cat, and it is by Kristen Tracy. And this book, it's kind of like a Freaky Friday gone wrong. So this girl, she's kind of being bullied by some girls that she considers to be her friends, and she makes a wish saying she just wants to be happy. Well, her wish is granted in a unique way, in that she has traded places with her cat. And her cat's name is Mitten Man. So she's traded places with her cat, and her cat is determined to run the school and have everyone eating out of his palm, because he wants to stand up for his owner. And she needs to now navigate the world as a cat, and it's just laugh out loud funny, and they both get into a lot of mischief, and you get to see how a cat would react to some of the bully situations that she's thrown into.
Well, yeah, I mean, the opening premise, just like the Make-A-Wish, and in stories, a lot of times, making a wish can be a potentially dangerous thing.
Yes.
How is it going to come true? And I have 2 daughters who both have cats, and as I'm listening to describe, and I'm thinking about cats and how they respond to things, and this sounds like a fun read. Okay, one more book in the chapter book category, and that's Mixed Up by Gordon Korman. I have not read this book. The premise sounds incredibly fascinating. I have read another book by him, an older book. I thought it was great, very entertaining, very interesting, kind of fun writer. Anyway, Mixed Up, we have 2 characters, Reef and Theo, and they don't know what's happening to them. They'll be going about their days, then suddenly they'll have these strange flashes of memory, but the memories don't belong to them, and at the same time, their own memories are starting to vanish. For Reef, this is a big problem because memories are all he has left of his mom, so obviously he doesn't want to lose those. For Theo, it's strange because the new memories give him a freedom he doesn't have from his domineering dad. I get the premise to this, the idea of like losing your memories. Some things, God, that would really, you know, scare me to the thought of losing it. On the other hand, there's some things I remember, I think I'd rather not.
Yes, I'd rather forget that embarrassing moment.
Yeah, right. So this sounds like a really interesting premise for a story. All right, so those are chapter books, and now we're going to move to young adult. Young adult is for who?
So young adult, again, depending on the content, can be from like 6th, 7th grade and up.
Okay, so slightly older. I guess these books are probably going to be a little bit longer, a little bit denser.
Yes.
Okay, so the first book in the young adult category
is Promise Boys. It is by Nick Brooks, and I need to tell you that this book came out in January of 2023, and it has held up. People were trying to call it back in June of 2023, saying this might be one of the books of 2023, but it was like very early to call it. But this book definitely.
This is the one.
Yes.
Okay.
So in Promise Boys, the description here I think is just great, so I'm just going to go ahead and read it. So Promise Boys is a dark academia mystery about 3 teens of color who must investigate their principal's murder to clear their own names. The prestigious Urban Promise Prep School might look pristine on the outside, but deadly secrets lurk within. When the principal ends up murdered on school premises and the cops come sniffing around a trio of students, JB, Ramon, and Trey emerge as the prime suspects. They had the means, they had the motive, and they may have had the murder weapon. But with all 3 maintaining their innocence, they must band together to track down the real killer before they are arrested. Or is the true culprit hiding among them? So this book, it has mystery, it's a thriller, and so many people have said that it has kept them at the edge of their seat up until the very end when the killer is revealed. So you get the sense that these boys, they have a limited time to clear their name. And with that fast pace, it comes across in the writing for the author. And a lot of people have been able to finish it within 1 day.
Wow.
So
A
it's
single sitting read
yes,
kind of experience. I was going to say, this type of premise sounds more like the kind of thing you'd find in regular adult, you know, murder mystery type books. And usually these things for kids sometimes can feel very juvenile or very, I don't want to say clunky, but, you know, either silly or uneven because it's for a young adult audience. This doesn't sound like that.
Right, and it is, like I said, it's a thrilling mystery. If you are a fan of Karen McManus, who did the I Can Keep a Secret If One of Them Is Dead, she writes mystery books. If you're a fan of Jason Reynolds or Angie Thomas, this book is definitely for you.
All right, so again, another great book for young adult, but maybe a great gift for somebody too. Promise Boys by Nick Brooks. Okay, all right, young adult books, Chaos Theory by Nick Stone. I did not pick this. I feel like Tina said, no, you're going to do this one. I don't know that I would read this. I don't know that I'd pick up a teen romance, except that the premise to this thing is really interesting. So yes, it's a gripping romance about 2 teens, one a certified genius living with a diagnosed mental disorder, and a politician's son who's running from his own addiction and grief. So we've got 2 very different characters here. Don't miss, it's described, don't miss this gut punch of a novel about mental health, loss, and discovering you are worthy of love. When Shelby sees Andy at his lowest, she can relate. So she doesn't resist reaching out, and there's no doubt their connection has them both seen stars. But the closer they get, the more the past threatens to pull their universes apart. A tour de force about living with grief, prioritizing mental health, and finding love amid the chaos. So I'm going to ask, I mean, it sounds dangerously close to being soap opera-like, except that the issues for the 2 kids between her mental disorder and then the addiction and grief that he's had to deal with in his life. Now, there's an elevated thing going on here.
Yes, definitely. Nick Stone is taking very serious issues and throwing in some romance that teens, they might find in the most unlikely of places.
Right, real world type stuff. Like we'd all like to think that the romance, everything's picture book perfect, you know, like a nice movie, you know, rom-com kind of thing. Life isn't really like that, and we're real people with real things going on. All right, so that's Chaos Theory by Nic Stone. Again, sounds like a great book. We're going to recommend one more, even though obviously there's a whole slew more. One more in the young adult category. Tina, what do you have?
So the last one is Stars and Smoke. It is by Marie Lu. Marie Lu is known for writing more fantasy type books. So she's the author of the Legend books and Warcross. And the unique thing about this book is it is not fantasy, it is action. So definitely Marie Lu is dipping in another genre here. And in this book, the plot is, I need to preface this by saying that the plot is very imaginative, but it's also fast-paced. So in this book, Winter Young is a global pop sensation with a voice like velvet. So yes, like I said, imaginative plot.
Okay.
And Sydney Cossett is part of an elite covert ops group, and Sydney has joined the ranks as a young spy with plans to become the best agent that they've ever had. There's a major crime boss involved, and he has gifted his daughter with a private concert, of course, performed by Winter for her birthday. So Winter and Sydney are working together to infiltrate this mob boss, and they get into their worlds are colliding because Winter is just this huge pop sensation, and Sydney is doing everything she can to keep things under wraps, but she needs Winter's help in capturing this bad guy. And that is where they need to find a way to work together and also not get caught. So
I'm going to tell you, it does sound like a movie to me, or like it could be. And certainly that I get the love thing, but then putting them together in this situation sounds like it could be a fun read.
Yes, and it is, again, for fans of like K-pop or BTS. This book is for you. And Marie Lu, she's just great at navigating and creating a mystery world. Not quite the fantasy world that I'm used to her creating, but I do appreciate her going into another genre.
So still a great read. Okay, so that is our third title in the young adult category, and obviously there's a bunch more out there, and I would encourage you to stop by the library. You can help navigate them to other books, but certainly, you know, here's some great titles to work from. So best of 2023, holiday gifts maybe, or regular gifts, or go out and just pick it up and read it. It's a good book. All right. Tina, thank you very much. Thanks for putting this list together.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.
Great reads here. I'm Dave Wurzel, and you've been watching Bookshelf on PHTV4. This has been a special Youth and Teen Edition, where Tina and I have been talking about best books of 2023 for young adults and children. Thank you for watching.